without further ado, I'd love to bring up Locky to the stage, and I'm going to jump in the hot seat. There we are. Sally, you want to come up? And I've got some cool questions. So what I love, one of the many things I really admire about Locky is Locky started as an Isagenix customer. You know, so he started using the products for himself and recommending them to his clients and was like, this is something seriously so special. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Isagenix then approached him and was like, hey, will you work for us? Because, you know, you're so knowledgeable and you've got so much credentials and knowledge behind you. We'd love for you to come and be our product expert. Is that correct? So yeah, I love that. He started just like us as a customer. So my first question is, and I will need my notes because I've got them written down. If everyday Joe Blow came to you, Locky, and was like, okay, I'm ready to upgrade my health. I want to take my health to the next level. I want body optimization. What are my top 3 things I need to do? And yeah, what are my top 3 things to do?
Okay, can I just speak it like, yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
The first thing is to get protein in order. Like, we know how important protein is now. It's not just for bodybuilders and weird people that have big tubs that sit outside their kitchens. Protein pacing is a real thing. Whey protein is also part of longevity because it's one of the key stimulants of a major antioxidant within the body called glutathione. Glutathione is used as one of the main longevity supplements that you'll find that you can go over and you can get injected with glutathione in longevity clinics. But the best way to actually get glutathione is to have whey protein. So whey protein, get your protein in check is important. Then I would say you've got to lift something that's going to cause you to want to wish that you weren't lifting it about halfway through. Did everyone hear that? It's not a really nice way to sell strength training, but it's definitely a realistic way, whether it's training or strength training, whatever. Do something that if halfway through it you wish you weren't there, you're probably doing it properly. Because it's testing you a little bit. In other words, do something that's going to challenge you. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. That's at any age, by the way. At any age, whatever doesn't challenge you, doesn't change you. Okay, so, and then I would say that one of the key parts, particularly when it comes to community, I love what you said there before to Gabs about the blue zones and looking at the community. It was something that I never expected getting into Isagenix. I kind of thought I had my community set. You know, had my mates and had my industry and had all that sort of thing in check, but what I was able to do when I got connected, how I was able to learn and grow within the community was fantastic. Like I wouldn't be working online right now if I didn't have the experience that I had with Isagenix, having that freedom and that flexibility with my own life. I had a gym, I had, you know, had fitness colleges and different things, which I'm still involved with, but I didn't have this sense of being able to live my life through, you know, working online and having that experience, etc. So for me, it's about being able to make sure you make a priority to community and checking in. I think it's for ultimate longevity.
I love that. So protein, resistance training, and community. And I mean, there's lots of proteins out there, and I'm sure lots of people buy all sorts of different proteins. I remember when Up and Go brought out the high protein, 17 grams of soy protein. I was like, yeah, protein. But not all protein is created equally, right? And so why does Isagenix use only New Zealand protein? Like, why is that so superior? And why is it, you know, why can't I just have my mass gain of 5,000 from NZ muscle, you know?
It's pretty raw at the moment, isn't it? For a long time, you know that New Zealand whey's for a long time been the standard, right? Everybody knows that when it comes to whey protein, even if it gets packaged over in America, for instance, so sometimes the raw product comes from here and then goes over to America and then gets repackaged and mixed and etc. and then gets sold back to everybody. So just understand that So far as the quality of the protein, it's directly in proportion to the quality of the grass and the quality of the air and the environment, because that's pretty much how it works. Like, it's whey protein is just a direct descent of the beautiful nature that's here in NZ. So why is it number one? It's the way that it will. It's the way that it will absorb within the body, and understand it as well too. The more pure, or the more what they call isolate you create, the more that you have a lot less additives or fillers to it. So the difference between a concentrate and an isolate is that a concentrate may have different elements that you add to it, which means that you won't have as high a percentage of protein, but it still could be really good quality protein, and it can absorb really well. But you'll find that isolate is the top of the tree. So whey protein is certainly, the health benefits that come from whey protein are phenomenal, and it's something that we'll learn more and more about as we go along. Notice that a lot of doctors never recommended protein powders until GLP-1s came around. And with Ozempic, and Jaro, and retatrutide, and what we'll see in the marketplace now, all of a sudden doctors recommended whey protein. Does anyone know why? And that's what sent up the price of whey protein worldwide, by the way.
Because we've got a lot of dairy cows?
Yes, and that's true. But a lot of the people that went on those injections and that were having great results from it were also sacrificing their muscle, and the way to counteract or to prevent your muscle breakdown is to be able to consume more protein. So all of a sudden doctors started to recommend it a lot more so. So hey, you should be having whey protein in an attempt to make sure they can create a buffer so that they're not breaking down their muscle, which is good advice, by the way, it's fantastic. But it meant that the price of protein worldwide skyrocketed. Yeah.
Just for a little piece of advice, my dad says that the whey protein doesn't sit right with his stomach. Is there any way that he can change something in his body to be able to adapt to that, or do you think that that's just like a dairy problem?
It's a good question. So sometimes, depending on the person, sometimes we have different ways of being able to, call it out. So, was it your dad who said that it has an adverse effect with eating whey protein? Is that a dairy concern, or is there any way to help the body to get used to it? Sometimes, if you don't eat a lot of dairy products, then certainly having dairy can cause the body to have a reaction. But whey protein in its most pure form is what we call hypoallergenic. So it means that it's a lot less chance of having any sort of a reaction to it. You'll find that a lot of the time when it comes to the shakes, it's not usually the whey protein that people will have a challenge with. It's usually a high amounts of fibre, because we do have a lot of fibre in the shakes, and that high amount of protein and more fibre. It's like if you've ever had, you don't eat broccoli a whole lot, and you eat a plate of broccoli, what happens? You know, you can feel there's a challenge in the force, you know, in the stomach there. So that's where you've got to yeah, and more protein brings with it gas, but also too, when the body is changing. A lot of us, when we're going through any sort of a detox, do we understand that our body will have certain types of microbiome, so the bacteria that are designed to break down the types of food that we eat most of. And that means that when we start changing our diet, we have to then produce new microbiome that are now specifically designed to break down that type of food. And that's what it will explain when you have been super fit and healthy and you're not eating any Macca's or KFC, and you've gone without it for a few months, and then you go and eat KFC, what happens?
Yeah,
And you're feeling sick, and you think this never used to happen. Why? Because the body kills off all that microbiome and it creates gas in the body. So if you're not using it, your body kills off these little bacteria, and that creates gas. And then you're also having extra protein, which creates gas. So you're cleansing, you're taking new shakes, you're doing all, eating all new types of food, eating more veggies. And with women especially, a lot of women will say, hey, I'm bloating, almost like bloating is the result of something that's not supposed to be, like without realizing it could be a transition. So your body is literally going through the process of change where it's killing off old bacteria, creating new bacteria, dealing with what we call gaseous emission, which is where the body is dealing with the excess protein and excess veggie and stuff. And after a while, that balances out. And you'll have your friends back. You go into public, you don't have to worry about changing directions really quickly.
So he could try the IsoPro. Just the straight whey protein, or we do have a plant-based. We have a full plant-based range as well.
No, it's probably
It
the...
probably is the fibre because I'm lactose intolerant. So
Yeah. I'd say
Yeah,
that.
so even people that are lactose intolerant are absolutely fine on our whey shakes because of the quality.
And like you've said before, maybe tone it down a little bit. Instead of maybe drinking a whole shake that you would normally do, maybe start off with drinking half a shake and see how he goes and build into it, instead of just going that full shake and constantly just trying to push that. Maybe just reduce the serving size a little bit, and once he gets it under control and that change starts happening, we'll then go back to the full shake.
And some people have a bad experience with, say, whey protein because they've tried another brand or they've tried a ready-made drink or something like that, and then they have in their mind, it doesn't suit my stomach. And so when you go in there with that belief as well too, understand that sometimes you can preempt things. So yes, start small, test the water on it, and then go from there. But generally, high-quality whey protein from New Zealand has a lot less chance of a reaction.
What if the shakes make people vomit?
Well, that's probably not really great. It's not good publicity. So again, like sometimes people have an adverse effect. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're allergic. It might mean that their bodies are just. It might be the texture. It might be something that the person doesn't necessarily connect with. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's offensive to the body per se. But I would say that if somebody did that, they're probably not coming back from that.
No, because I'm just saying because I had a friend who trialled it and it happened to her.
Yeah.
So we told her to have like half a shake instead of like 2 scoops. But then every time she had it, it was all the products and she was just vomiting it out.
Yeah. Look, it could just be very much that the body just, for whatever reason. I find for a lot of people when it comes to food, it is a texture thing. So when somebody doesn't like eggs, for instance, it's not usually because of the taste of eggs, it's because of the texture. And the texture makes them sick. And then when you make it, and it's very powerful, by the way. It's not. I'm not saying that it's not real. It's absolutely real. So you've got to be wary. These are the things to take into consideration when you're working with people. Because our steaks are quite thick and what they call viscous. Like it's like quite chunky. But if you love it, you love it. But if not, yeah.
Today I'm on my day 1 for 30-day reset. And, one thing that I found, and I know, and I believe I know this, is that I'm having cramps from the ionics. Like the moment I had the ionics, I started getting like cramps, but I feel like my body has never had anything healthy. I'm very clear, like not a consistent healthy diet type.
Yep.
And being like a recovering addict as well, I feel like there's a lot of toxin in there. So
your body's like
my body's getting a shock. It's like what in the heck is going on here?
It's honestly, you'd be amazed how much that I do hear something similar. It's like you're fighting your own body. Hey, but this is good for me, right? Everything. It's like when people say like, get into exercise and you'll spring out of bed. That's a lie, and you know it, right? When you first start exercise, who springs out of bed? Nobody. How about you getting out of bed like, people should love me for who I am. I'm a good person. Shit, like everything that's going through your mind is negative. So it's the same as with the body. We adapt to certain types of food, certain types of eating. Anything that's a bit foreign, you'll find that, it gets a bit rejected until it assimilates with the body. And then once it does, hey, then it becomes our standard and it becomes normal. It's like when you go over to, like, I lived in Thailand for a while, and I'd watch as people would come over and visit. And there are certain types of places where I would not eat with my friends because I knew that if they ate there, they'd probably get really sick. Whereas I'd probably been a little bit more sort of adjusted to the environment, you know. So, yeah.
I was on my way here and I'm like, I've got cramps. I know that there's something there, you know, is fighting these toxins, but I was enjoying it. I'm like,
That's good. It's a really good attitude to have.
And last question on protein. Ours is undenatured. Why is it important? Why can't we just buy another protein from the shop? Like, why is undenatured important?
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier about bioavailability. When you have an undenatured protein, it has a much greater ability to absorb in the body. Undenatured will mean that the process that they've used to produce the protein mean that you're not adding heat to it. So as soon as you add liquid, as soon as you add heat to protein, it will start to change. So when you make up your shake, I'm sure we've all had the experience where you make up your shake and give it a bit of a shake and you leave it somewhere, you forget about it. And you come back to it maybe a couple of hours later, how does it smell? It smells terrible, yeah? Because it's now become a live culture and it's started to go off. So that's why we say once you put it in water, you should drink it within that 20-minute period. You don't make your pre-made shake and leave it and say, well, it's all ready to go when I need it throughout the day. All right? Because that's what, and we've all tried that and then realised that it doesn't work. Okay, so undenatured would mean there's no heat used. Anything that is either cold pressed or cold filtered, there is no heat that's used to produce the powder. So by heat, not just heat on the powder, which makes it very easy to work with, by the way, because when you're working with undenatured whey, it clumps and it's very hard to deal with. But also in the mixing, you reduce the speed at which you actually mix the product, because if you mix too fast, what does that generate? Heat, and then the heat then starts to downgrade the protein. So again, that's why you can have a protein that said, hey, there's 30 grams in this, but it's denatured, so it's been broken down, and then so it doesn't absorb as much. It's pretty cool, huh? That's why there's something cold pressed. It's like your protein bars. If you've got a cold pressed bar, for instance, that's put together, that means it hasn't been heated. You get your lovely bars, they've got chocolate and all the bits and pieces, they're usually been heated because they've cooked the bar. Yeah.
I love that because, you know, before I was buying proteins and I was like, oh, yes, it doesn't do good, but undenatured makes such a difference to the quality. And yet, okay, say I want to upgrade my health, I'm doing longevity, I'm having protein, resistance training, I've got a good community. Why would I cleanse and take ionics? Like, how's that going to elevate my health? If I'm already doing those first three.
Yep. Because inevitably life gets a little bit stressful. We've got to deal with different things, whether it's physical stress and recovery, or mental stress, or emotional stress. We're not all void of it. We all get affected by it in some way, shape, or form. And ionics helps to just make that journey a lot more consistent, a lot more predictable. Cleansing helps us to be able to keep our body in check with making sure that getting rid of toxins. And then when we were talking before about can we overdo our cleansing, you'll find that the more you cleanse, especially if your body's now used to it, you probably won't get as much physically that you can see from doing a cleanse, but what you're doing constantly is you're checking in with your body and you're making sure that everything's working efficiently and you're giving it a bit of a rest. It's like a gift to your body. That's the reasons why you cleanse, and you could live longer, and also just challenging yourself a little bit again. Because so many of us get so used to eating consistently. I think taking a cleanse day is a reminder of how much food you actually need versus how much you think you want. And I think for most of us, it's a really good thing to put in place sometimes, just to teach and to train your body and your hormones and your hunger hormones specifically, and how they go about being able to train your everyday thought. Because if we can train those hunger hormones, then most of us have got a lot less of a challenge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just,
Sorry, if someone's doing a 30-day reset and their goal is to put on weight,
Yes.
say they're like really skinny, will they still have sugar cleanse days and why?
That's a good point. But so if they're really skinny, depending on what the goal is, if they were trying to put on muscle, they don't want to lose any more weight. Cleansing is going to be important still, because through the cleanse you can promote great growth hormonal release. If they're eating really well with combining with that, it means you're kind of tying in that growth hormone with that extra nutrients. Now you can move that forward and grow muscle. So in the right environment, yes. If I didn't trust their training was going to be very consistent and improve and increase, and that their nutrition was going to be great during that time, I'd back off the cleansing a little bit. So I'd have to take that on account, like so maybe try to do a half day and see how they go. And if they can prove themselves, I might do a full day, because they're going to benefit from it, absolutely. But each person's just a little bit. And that's for more somebody like me to kind of come in and go, okay, hey, you know, like I don't expect everybody to try to know that, but just personally, that's something that I'll look out for.
With your clients and stuff, do you suggest just isogenics range, or do you promote other protein powders or other supplements as well?
It's a good question. Like, we've always taken the stance, there's just great products out there. I've never sort of tried to pigeonhole too much, but pretty much the only time that I'd use other products was when we just didn't have it. Like, for instance, I'd used another creatine for years because we didn't have creatine. Now we've got creatine, I don't have to do it. It's fine, you know, like, but I mean, and I'm still of that opinion. There's some wonderful products out there, of course there is, but do I know that they're going to get the result? Are they a system? Do they fit into place like what we can do with isogenics? No. And that's where it's often missing. There's something, you know, there's a missing gap there. But it's not like we try to get down on somebody and like, we're all, their products are all to kind of to keep the standard nice and high. You know, I just find that these work much better.
awesome. So, we've got protein, we've got our resistance training, we are cleansing and having our ionics. And the cleansing, so we're detoxing, spiking our human growth hormone, and autophagy. I think it's something that we should expand on. Why is it worth going through that must cleanse? You know, why is autophagy something we should strive for, and how's that going to help us?
So that's where you got the zombies, the cells in your body which we often talk about with toxicity. Okay, if we're clearing out the old, it's like a spring clean, body makes new cells, replenishes, then we're in a much better state to have greater medical acuity. You know, interesting thing as well too, there's an interesting fact, during the Great Depression, you know that people lived 7 years longer? And that's because they were forced to eat less. Not that I'd ever wish that upon any society, but an interesting fact that came from that when you think that because people couldn't afford to eat as much, that they would then reduce their lifespan. They didn't, it increased. It gives us an example, like, so we're all about living prosperously, but if we can put in place something that just reminds our bodies that we can still go without and still train it to that rather than the body's getting too comfortable. It's like anything, like I said, like training, you treat the cleansing the same way.
Does the normal person know how long they need to cleanse before they hit autophagy? Because I know there's a lot of people that don't even understand what that means. So how long should they cleanse to hit autophagy and then continue?
So autophagy is happening in our body all the time, but it gets accelerated at different levels. So even reducing, like for instance, having a low calorie diet or creating a deficit in your diet creates or accelerates autophagy. That's why during a cleanse or a fasting day, it really accelerates. And then the fact that you get to stick on it because we keep our blood glucose level fairly consistent throughout the day, which is hence why our products come in, which is where you'll find that the research, and it's also in Isogenics Health, check it out, where there was no difference between doing 0 calories and 500 calories while people were on a cleanse, which meant that you can actually get through the cleanse with the products, keep your blood glucose on, you know, nice and steady and not feel like the walking wounded, and get through it and then do okay. Now, as I mentioned, a person's level of autophagy would be dependent on their metabolism, how quickly their metabolism is, how much they train, all of these sorts of things. But generally, if a person hasn't been training and their eating habits aren't really great, it's usually an estimate outside of 24 hours. So that's why you're usually getting cues around like the 32-hour mark. So that's where a lot of the time a double cleanse works really well when a person's coming from outside of training and nutrition and eating the right foods. That can be of a wonderful benefit to them early on, but don't freak them out with that too soon. Always make sure that you get a good habit of eating first. That's why we recommend a couple of those shake days beforehand, so that you've then got the body filled with lots of good nutrients, then hit the cleanse. But what a lot of people don't realise is what happens after the cleanse is really important too. So you don't finish your cleanse and go and have KFC. Because now your body's like ready to rock and roll, like it's hypersensitive, it's reaching out for nutrients. If you're eating fast foods, you put back the stuff that you've basically tried to go through a process of being able to live.
If you're like exercising, say if you're having like a clean protein or something like that.
What, sorry?
The clear protein.
Clear protein, yep.
Can you, if you exercise and can it counteract the calories that you've put in while doing sort of like semi things?
So on a cleansed body, can going and doing a hard workout start going?
Or just like a moderate, like just so that you're like going into the still keeping that bioavailability.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look.
does it have the
So
same effect?
if you're creating metabolites, like if if you're challenging your body and you're creating what's called like a metabolic byproduct, that it then is part of that whole process of what you get rid of with autophagy. So it's not so much working against it, but you're building upon what you've spent a bit of time trying to clear. Does that make sense? So challenging yourself with a session is not a great idea on a cleanse. Doing a session, if it's just run of the mill, but that's where I always just say, just be careful not to kind of challenge it more. I mean, some people say, oh, I can lift much more on a cleanse day than I can normally. It's not usually that you can lift, you can tell yourself that. It's usually the day after your cleanse. If you've eaten really well, given yourself a couple of meals, 2 or 3 meals after a cleanse, growth hormone is fresh in your body, and you're well nourished now, that is often your best session that you'll feel that you can do, because everything's primed and ready, compared to doing it while you're still building all of that. During your cleanse, you might be able to take advantage of some of that growth hormone push, but it's going to have no sort of comparison, with being nourished as well as rested, as well as with the rock and roll with growth hormone.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. Like after a 2-day cleanse, the following day again I can lift weight heavier.
Yeah.
So whenever we do the gym challenge, I always line up my cleans, for special challenges. So basically, cleansing is going to get down your toxic load. It's going to increase your metabolism, get into autophagy, which is getting rid of all the bad cells in our body and refreshing us. That is just so amazing. And I know I tried water fasting before isogenics. Yeah, I was hungry and maybe a little bit violent. But what I love is that what Locky shared, the science says you can have 500 calories on your fasted day and get the exact same benefits. Right? So how much more fun is it on a cleanse day or fasting when you have an e-shot and clear protein and all these amazing little treats, feel amazing, not get violent, and still get the results. So I just think that's so cool. So I'm going to shift it up a gear. I want to talk about peptides, because I know that is a huge buzzword at the moment. So you're at the forefront of a lot more knowledge than we have here in Tidal. You're working with the Australian Institute of Sport and things like that with these athletes. So what is your take on peptides? There's a lot of them around. People are saying they're good for old injuries. What's your take on them, and what should we be aware of looking at? Is there any that you'd say, there's some credit behind that? What's your take?
So I think the main thing is to understand firstly what a peptide is, and then we can sort of see how it can be placed in our everyday consumption. So a peptide is a chain of amino acids, basically. So does everyone understand, if we think peptides, think protein. So amino acids are proteins, peptides are proteins. So it's different to, say, for instance, adding a hormone to your body that wasn't there before. So we call that exogenous or outside, okay? Outside hormone that we're putting into your body. The thing about peptides is that you're putting something into your body that aims at being able to stimulate a natural body occurrence, which will then accelerate whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. So that's why there's a peptide for healing. There's a peptide for growth hormone. There's a peptide for sleep. There's a peptide as a neurotropic. There's a peptide for pretty much everything. Skin, you know, all of the above. So a lot of them are not yet cleared by the authorities. So that's why the underworld is obviously filled with a lot of different peptides. The challenge is understanding where they come from, and you never really know. But so far as the science goes, to give you a bit of an idea, I mean, 12 years ago I trained an endocrinologist, so a specific hormone doctor. His name's Dr. Lee Kennedy. He's written most of the textbooks that you'll actually see within the endocrinology industry. So he's actually written some commercial ones. He does all the textbooks for all of the students, but he's written some commercial ones that help us normal people understand hormones, basically. Lee Kennedy's his name. 12 years ago I said to Lee, what do you reckon about peptides? Because I was sort of exploring and learning to understand back then. And he said, like, it sounds really good, but we just don't have enough research yet to kind of really put it all together. Fast forward to today, 12 years later, Lee is the face of the largest peptide distribution company in all of Australia, okay, called bioavailability. So, gives you an idea. There's been some research between 12 years ago and now. So under the right guise, I think that there's some wonderful benefit that could be very exciting, but I think what it doesn't do is it doesn't replace what we do within Isogenics. And so there, I'm not ever trying to create space between the two, but look at how the worlds can work together. It's the same as with GLP-1s. So when we're talking Ozempic, Mounjaro, Matrutide, these sorts of peptides that are out there that are aimed at being able to curb our hunger and make sure that our stomach is going to empty a little bit slower than normal and affect our insulin resistance, or sensitivity, so that we're not insulin resistant. So there's wonderful benefits that could come from these, but you still need to eat. And you still need to be consistent, and you still need to train. And if you do all of those things, if you do all of the peptides and you don't do any of the training, and then you go off the peptides, you're in the same place. There's no difference, there's no change. And the people get really sad because they're like, oh, I just went off it and I just went back to normal, because it doesn't affect any of your habits. It's the same as when somebody's getting any sort of specific operation with their stomach stapling, and you can get any sort of bypass, etc. But if you don't change your habits, you might have to get it again. Is that we're all with that? So this is where one of the best parts, and the reason why Isogenics is always going to be multifaceted, it's not a one-trick pony, is that it's trying to get your habits in check so that they come natural to you. And when you've got people, I'll use Gabby as an example because I've known her for 13 years, and she looks better now than when I first met her, which is pretty amazing. Which is pretty amazing though, really though. I mean, it's predictable what she's going to look like in the next few years. You know where she's going, compared to a lot of people where it's a little bit of it's a grey area. They don't know how they're going to look or how they're going to feel. I can guarantee she's going to look great and feel good. Would you put your money on that?
Yeah.
I'd say, you know what I mean? Like, so that's, for me, that's kind of what I see as one of the most important things, is that if you can lock your habits in and what work for you, then hey, whatever you can add to that, as long as the law permits it. And I know that NZ, they're a little bit cagey on certain things, but things, guys, like BPC, if you haven't heard of BPC, which is the body protection compound, that's what it stands for. From a perspective of recovery, accelerating soft tissue repair, I mean, I think it could be a wonder drug, to be honest. And side effects, over 13,000 research papers that have been done at the moment, not one side effect. They haven't even been able to measure it as a risk. It's actually more risky to inject it for potential for infection at the injection site than it is the product itself doing any harm to your body. So you've got something like that that's still not freely available for people. I think that's a bit sad. But so I look forward to something like BPC becoming a lot more frequently available to people. But it's not a wonder drug. It doesn't, well, I said it's a wonder drug, but it doesn't do everything. It just accelerates that which is, you know, the body is utilising itself. So I got prescribed BPC. I tore my bicep. So my bicep was up here, complete tear. And I was back using my arm back training weights after 4 months. So to give you an idea, that's pretty cool. I was prescribed that I was above board, so I wasn't being naughty or anything, but I had some connections with obviously Dr. Kennedy. So yeah, I can only speak from what I've seen myself, and I think if people are going to be recovering, I know athletes, for instance, off-season, etc., there's a lot of athletes doing things like BPC. And it's not a performance enhancer, it's purely just going to be something that's going to accelerate the body's ability to recover.
Will isogenics bring out the... Anything's possible.
Sorry, I work in a gym. I know a few people who are taking Retta to lose weight. And I have this one guy, and he's like 35 kgs at the moment. He's already lost 15 kgs in like 2 months. And he came to me and he said that his nutritionist is making him have like a little bit of protein, but he wants to grow his pecs because he's got lots of loose skin now.
Okay.
And he approached me about isogenics. Would you recommend that he does it as well as Retta?
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll explain that retatrutide. Can I just, I think this is going to be really important. GLP-1s are basically a weight loss drug. Is everyone quite aware of something like Ozempic? So there's phase 1, which is Ozempic. So we call Ozempic a 1-tier GLP-1. 1 tier meaning that it basically curbs your hunger, so and it slows your stomach emptying, and then because of that curbs your hunger. 1 trip. Manjaro is the next stage. 2 trips. Basically, it will slow your stomach emptying, but it will also then affect your insulin resistance, your sensitivity. 2-tier. Retatrutide, next one. Not yet passed by in America, FDA, in Australia, and New Zealand. Okay, that hasn't been cleared either. 3-tiered approach. Affects your insulin, affects your stomach emptying, and it also affects your metabolism, which is an interesting one because you can actually grow muscle on retatrutide. Whereas the other 2 are probably more geared towards very, very focused weight loss. So retatrutide in the fitness world has just gone almost like you'd never believe another 12-week challenge because you see so much of what people are doing might be sort of enhanced by retatrutide. But it will get passed and it will be cleared and it will be freely available within the next couple of years. But people have just jumped the gun on it because they're excited by it. So anyone that buys it is buying it illegally. Just so you know, if you ever hear of someone taking retatrutide, we're not associated with these people, but no, let's speak openly about it. So should they take ISO? My first thought is absolutely. So if somebody that is trying to lose weight doesn't have the habits of eating consistently in place, do you think that they're going to be more inclined to eat consistently with a complete shake? Yeah. So something like retatrutide, people will forget to eat and they'll be losing weight and they'll go, well, how cool is this? I'm just going to keep just not eating. Not realizing with retatrutide, it actually, it enhances your carbohydrate metabolism, which means that you need to keep eating carbs because the more you eat carbs on retatrutide, the more it actually stimulates and drives your metabolism.
Okay, he's not eating any carbs.
If you don't, then it will actually work against you. increasing your carbs on retatrutide is really important, and it will stimulate results like crazy compared to trying to go. And people feel dizzy on these drugs, and they go, "Oh, I feel dizzy." You know why you feel dizzy? Because you're experiencing low blood glucose. It usually means you have to eat. Because you're not feeling the hunger, you don't associate feeling the hunger with feeling dizzy. You see that? Whereas most of the time if we're getting hungry, we go, "Oh, I'm hungry, I'm so hungry, I'm dizzy." But if you take the hunger element away, you just go, "I'm dizzy. This is weird." Like, so it's usually because you're not eating.
So what can I recommend him to take?
Lots of shakes. If in doubt, have a shake. If his metabolism's up now, then you would be having, where normally you might have, lay off carbs if your main focus is your fat loss, particularly during the day, you need to make sure you have small portions of carbs made throughout the day. So instead of having like eggs for breakfast with no carbs, you might have just a bit of carbs. At lunchtime, just a little bit of carbs with just a little bit of rice, a little bit of potato.
So maybe like a shake for breakfast and then just lunch, and you can have this broccoli.
Oh no, I'd have shakes in between.
And because think of the nutrients as well, all the vitamins and minerals, he's got all of them. He's probably not going to be going out and eating broccoli and spinach and like millions of veggies, is he? Well, none of us are really.
Thank you.
It's a good way to think of it. Like the more you train, the more there's a need for your body to have adequate amounts of vitamins and minerals. If you're taking out a couple of those meals per day and putting in the shakes, for most people that are athletes, if you look at the isogenics plan, most people would go say breakfast, lunch and dinner are my main meals, and I'm putting tiny little snacks in at morning tea and afternoon tea. Yeah? Would that be most people? You look at an athlete, their solid meals become their breakfast, lunch and dinner, and their in-between meals become their shakes. So their shakes become more of what fits into their day. If that's a person that might be consuming 3,000 plus calories per day. So it's just a different way to kind of try and get your head around it. Because if you're training more than a few times a week for something specific, your eating patterns are going to be very different.
What do you do it the other way? You really are an inconsistent eater. So like I don't eat all day. Today. And then I might eat something in the evening, but normally I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'll get up and have a bowl of cereal. That's how I sort of live.
Yep. So it's.
And I get excited by shakes, but then I'm like, I can't press it on.
Yep.
You only have them for so long, like, I can't really have a shake.
Yep. Yeah, look, it's about, it's trying to get a certain amount of routine in place. I mean, if you're quite happy with that and being able to find yourself quite, I mean, I would.
Something needs to change.
Yeah. You just find rappers all around you at night time when you wake up. What happened here last night? Like it was, when people go through dieting and for different things for comps, that's something that often happens, that they end up just waking up in the middle of the night and just eating lots of stuff and not realising that they've done it, they've just acted on it, I think consistency is what brings about that habit. So I think the more you have on, the more it's important to have a time that you lock in. So like most of us are very busy, right? So one of my clients, a good friend of mine, his name's Martin Chin. He said, Doran knows Martin. We've gone and done some filming at his house. Martin is a dentist, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, and he's a surgeon. And he's also the head of the maxillofacial college, as well as having to have 2 black belts, plays 3 instruments, does dance lessons every week, ninja every week, plays tennis, does pottery, just kind of guy that just makes you feel like you should be doing more of your life. But what I've learned from him, and not all of us have to be that extreme, okay? I'm not trying to suggest we should be, but what I've learned from Martin is the potential for you to get a lot more in your day when you create a routine that you naturally just find yourself kind of falling into, rather than feeling as if though you're trying to fit everything in, because it's frustrating, right? And if you've got family, if you've got commitments, for most of us, when things pop up, it's our health, it's our fitness, it's our focus on ourselves that generally tends to take a back seat. Would you agree? For a lot of people. Whereas when you put those things first and you have a really good time and you lock in, when you're first trying to eat consistently, you're not sitting down and eating a full, massive meal. You're more trying to sit down and get the habit of being able to sit down. So you have a very, very small amount. So if you can only eat a small, that's fine. But then, how do you eat more throughout the day? So a lot of the time when someone would say, I only eat 1 meal a day, how do I eat 4? Well, I'm not going to change it from eating 1 meal to 4 or 5 straight away. You go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then that's the way you kind of piece it together. But then, once you're there, your body will remind you. And then when you're training, particularly when you're strength training, it's usually what builds that consistency and that reminder of, geez, I need to eat. And that's why when people with sleep, for instance, if you have trouble sleeping, but you also strength train, it's usually a combination that doesn't exist as much for most people. Because if you're consistently strength training, you go tonight, boom, out. So, yeah.
Systems are the best way. If you've got a system and you follow, create a better habit, then you get more results.
Absolutely.
It's so hard when you don't know what you're talking about, or you've got no idea to go home and go, oh, I'm just going to start this thing tomorrow. Where do I start? So if you find a system, stick to the system, becomes a habit, the habit becomes results.
Yeah. It's like just even the habit of getting up in the morning and having the creatine and the hydrate. So having like a good sodium mix as well as the creatine. First thing, who feels like water when you wake up? I don't. It's probably the last thing that I feel like. But I get into the habit of doing it, and it's kind of nice because it's sweet and yummy. I don't make too much of a deal of it. I just do that, and how much of a difference does that make to you every day before you have coffee, before you have any food? Your body now gets to flush itself of anything that's just been sort of hanging around throughout the evening. You've got creatine now, your mind's switched on, you've got electrolytes now which hold the water, which means you're set up for the rest of the day. Just that one habit of doing that first thing in the morning can change your whole life if you do it every day. So yeah, the more you don't, what is the Atomic Habits, it says you don't raise to the level of goals that you set for yourself, you fall to the level of habits that you follow through on throughout the day. So where you want to be able to get your habits in place, that's really tells a story of where you're headed. So habits are important. Really good. Sorry, mate.
With your clear protein, what's the difference? What's the protein? What type of protein in the clear?
It's a
the
way
clear
to
water or
isolate.
whatever it is, or protein water, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So tell me what's the difference?
It's a great question. This is a whey isolate.
Okay.
So there's still an isolate in the IsoPro, but because it does have different elements to it as well too, it's more of a milky texture, you'll find that the protein will actually come down a little bit in percentage. This is...
So how would you use that in a day or a week or whatever? How would you?
So I go with preference first. It's not as milky and it's kind of nice. It's more of a...
What you feel like.
Totally. But in saying that, also incredible post-workout because it doesn't have anything else. It's pretty much a straight isolate, so it's a great one to have. To be honest, combine the two is really, really good. Like there's a milky one plus the high-end one here. And for most of us, just a serving of the IsoPro is probably not quite enough protein if you're going to be doing your workout. So having a serve of that plus a serve on this.
So like I have a whey protein now and I have protein water as well, obviously not isogenics.
Yep.
What's the difference? Why would I look at isogenics? What's the difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why this one based on like absorption or be it like, so again, when you're looking at the quality of product, the only way to really sort of say, okay, this one is going to be a better choice than this one, the only way that we can do that is on research. I mean, each person will have their own preference, etc. And our research all points towards utilising the protein that we have and the results that people have got. So I find a lot of the time though, the biggest difference with people taking the protein and being consistent with it is whether they like it or not. Yeah. If they enjoy having it, they're more inclined to be consistent with it. And if you can do that, at least then you can see. But certainly with the quality and the standards always been with isogenics is across the board. Protein's always that number one ingredient that we're really big on. It has to be the best quality. Because remember too, as soon as you put water to protein, what happens to it? It denatures. So when we buy a ready-made protein water, for instance, what's already happened? So, well, it's not necessarily denatured, it's actually, most of the time they use a different type of protein. So always, even with the clear proteins, make sure that you're looking at a whey protein isolate. All right, that's almost the gold standard that you'll go for. Are there other good products? Of course. This one combines some electrolytes because it's then looking at trying to hold the water to drive and to travel the protein through the body. That's a bit different to the other ones that'll be on the market. But like I said, it's usually the case, it's just a higher quality, higher grade.
Gabs, is that one of your prizes?
Yes, it is. Oh, there you go.
That was a setup, wasn't it?
I will just say
I didn't actually want this, I knew that was...
I will just say quickly though, at 5 to 4, I'm really impressed with everybody. Like, I froth on this information, I could listen to this all day. And there's a few people here who have stuck it out. I'm so impressed with you. We are going to give some shakes at the end, out of the kitchen, stick around, sample some stuff. Stay as long as you want, but I will just say you guys are super impressive. Like, this is pretty cool to stay this long. My biggest question is, why would we choose having a shake over a full meal? And then I will go and make you some shakes before you go.
Yeah, so why would we go a shake over a full meal? Well, this is where we just wouldn't. And this is where I think it's really important not to draw that line in the sand, is there's a combination of both that mechanical breakdown and getting all the nutrients that we need from the shakes that obviously we're going to be able to do. So isogenics have gone to a lot of trouble to give you a balanced meal. It's got vitamins, minerals, proteins, fibers. You know, it's got prebiotic. Everything is designed to give your body what it needs. Great. However, combined with great quality food where you get that mechanical breakdown, it allows us to be able to assimilate those hunger hormones, to do all of that. The combination of the two is what's really important. Where a lot of food does certainly fall down nowadays is the nutrients aren't as high as what they used to be, because they've been, obviously now with the quality of the soil, with a lot of where we get whether it's food like fruits, vegetables, even meats, etc., the quality is a lot less. Where you can work in with certain supplementation, you can fill in the gaps. So that's where we want that world of combining the food and the shakes, I think, is so important. And that way we don't get into the habit of, isn't it that shake diet? And then when people ask me, well, will you be having protein shakes like when you're like older? How long is this going to be going on for? It's like, well, I've sort of been having them since I was 15. You know, it's been 30 years of having protein shakes. It's not really something that I think is weird or abnormal anymore. My mum used to get me to put my tub outside the house. She thought it was steroids. When I was 15, I had to get my big meat axe tub, put it outside. 15.
Sorry, I have lots of questions, but my friend, he does like high rocks and he's like there. And when he found out I was doing isogenics, essentially, you know that it's not really long term, right?
Yeah.
He can talk to me.
Give him my number.
Is it? Like, how do I go back to him and reply to that?
So, I always try to imagine where somebody's coming from, right? If you look at extremes of anything, like if somebody were thinking that someone were trying to starve themselves and they're not doing it the correct way, then of course they, as a friend, you'd probably be thinking, hang on, like maybe you're not doing this, the right way, and I don't want you to, keep doing it. I suppose I got a bit of a benefit. Usually if my friends or somebody found out that I was in isogenics, they go, oh, you do it? I thought it was shit. Like, no, so it must be actually good. Is it actually good? You know what I mean? And then I'm having to sort of backtrack and sort of go, yeah, man, I wouldn't do it. You know me, sort of thing. But people may have had their own experience of, going on it. And I think the really big one that people probably get wrong is that they go, a friend of mine tried the isogenics products and then they stopped and all the weight went back. It's like, of course. Well, what else changed? Like if you had the same habits, you went on a program and you changed your metabolism for a small period, lost some weight, felt good, went off the products, didn't eat consistently, didn't have that regular flow through of nutrients, and then you didn't feel the same, would you hate on the products? Or that for me is always interesting, and that through Chinese whispers gets perpetuated, and people go, yeah, it's good while you're on it. Like it's healthy feels good while you're healthy. You see the irony of it? So just try and understand where people are coming from, because they've probably locked on to a different way of thinking. Not nice.
So you say you have your creatine first in the morning. Is that preference or is that the best time to have it?
It's a good question. Do I have the creatine in the morning because it's the best time to have it? The best time to have it is that which you can do most consistently. And so the habit of doing it in the morning and waking up and thinking about creatine first before anything else means that it'll always get in. So I'm away from my house now, and I'm waking up in a foreign bed in a hotel today. Creatine. Okay, so it's a habit that I've got into, so I make it straight away and away we go. So when your body gets to a saturation point is when it's optimal for creatine. So a saturation point means that your body now has become so used to getting creatine in that it now can utilize it very efficiently because it's constantly got like stores available, what we call like a surplus, all right? Because our creatine stores can go up and down quite regularly throughout the day depending on what you're doing. So when you saturate the body with creatine, you're taking it consistently so that it's fresh within your body, ready to utilize. So yes, the more you can get lock on a time to do it, the better it is. Now for athletes, there is some benefit of being able to potentially place it closer towards the workout so that they can utilize it during the workout, but only if it's saturated within the body first. They're not going to get any benefit from, say, first time they've ever tried creatine, trying it and then trying to go and lift their personal best. It's not going to do anything until it's fresh within your body.
Is there a marker that you sort of realise that you're saturated enough?
It's a good question. The marker is honestly comes down to that performance. It's if you're looking at it from an athlete perspective and from a just everyday, just it will be things like mental acuity. You're feeling a lot more sharp. You'll find that generally, depending on the creatine that you're taking, there will be slight fluctuations in your fluid that you'll hold in the body naturally. It won't be like fluid, but generally the scales will generally tend to reflect that your body is holding a little extra, and as in a good way, because your muscles, intramuscular.
So why do some people feel bloated? Is this because it holds the water in?
It can do, yeah, but also too because it's different. Like what we were saying before, the body is not necessarily used to it, hasn't assimilated with it. They might relate the bloating to, it's bad. But yeah, it can be because it's holding a little extra fluid. It used to be that people used to have a lot of adverse effects from creatine because of the fillers that are in it. So a lot of the creatine is made overseas. Let's just call it that. Okay? And you can't guarantee that it's going to be pure. So then their experience will be that it really does start to cramp. And that's quite a common.
That answers my question, because I'm like, why would people buy our creatine over other creatines and get the results? And actually, you don't get the bloating, all of those issues. So, Lisa, you've had your hand up for a long time, so let's come to you.
I just like what you said about mixing the creatine with electrolyte. How much do you mix? Like, is it a whole electrolyte?
Yeah, whole one, for sure.
Just
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I try not to make too much of it like a big, glass, because I'm trying to train how easy and simple it's just going to be like a little shot. So, yeah. But, yeah, really good habit to get into.
Hi, I'm Janice. Rosie got me on this program, so this is my first time here.
Yeah.
I'm just closing in on my first month, but I'm glad she got me on this thing because at first I was a little bit hesitant, and this is going to lead into what my question is. I'm committed to finishing this whole 90-day thing and long term as well, but are you guys looking at afterpay? Anytime soon or later? Because, you know, I think that's that whole hesitant part where, you know, you tell people when they start the journey that it's a little bit pricey, and then they have that domino effect where like, yeah, and then because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, man, afterpay is like a magic tool that a lot of people use these days.
Well, that's where we've always had the money back guarantee on the product. So when you do that first month, it gives that risk-free option. So in the same sort of line. But also too, one thing that we do understand about nutrition, there is a science to it as well too, that when you do put money or you do contribute, there is a part of you that locks in and gets a bit more serious. Like you can all relate, you've ever handed over money and there's a part of you that goes, I'm gonna make this work. You know, like this is a lot of money to be spending on myself. Some other things in my life better change because I'm not going to be forking out this, sacrificing over here to be able to do this unless I'm going to start to really be a little bit more serious. So there is a part of that that's a psychology. But I feel you. That's why we do the 100% guarantee on that first month.
Great answer, Locky. Gabby, stop asking me about it.
I was going to say, well, great question because we've got the general manager in the room. So if we need to corner Goran, now's the time.
Straight away, afterpay is something that we're struggling from a testing perspective in regards to anything approval. Afterpay is something that you need to get. It's not just, oh yeah, we'll just do afterpay, you sign up for it. It's something that afterpay look at from a company perspective, from the whole thing. It's a whole range of documents that we need to go through. So that is right at the early stages of us getting that, so it's still a little bit far away. The thing that we have got approved though is paid for through PayPal. So that is locked and loaded in the US. We are looking at getting that approved for Australia and New Zealand. So if there's anything that's going to come before afterpay, it could be paid in full through PayPal. But again, you need to have a PayPal account to do all that type of stuff. So if there's anything, that could be an option for us maybe in the next 6 to 12 months.
I reckon Kiwis would love that. Yeah. Cool. We, oh my gosh. Don't worry, you guys. Locky is going to be hanging around, so if there's any other specific questions, like corner him after we finish and just hit him hard, alright? Yeah, I mean, it is so amazing that you guys all stayed here. I think it'd be really cool to get some key takeaways. I'd love you guys to put your hand up and share one key takeaway. We are going to give out some prizes. So let's take 6 key takeaways. What have you guys learned today? What's one thing that you can learn and implement from today? Hands up if you've got a takeaway. Yes. Consistency. Yes, I love that. Well done. Yes.
I think that, like for me, being a young grandmother and having 8 children, I think it really just zoned in and really sold me on the realisticality of longevity. Yeah. When you have so much health issues and stuff like that, you know, and also being Māori, there's like a kind of a statistics that comes with our culture. But it's what I really love about today. It's been really like intentional and understanding about actually what the products are doing longevity, because I want to live to 150 too.
Absolutely, okay. 100%. Alright. Yes.
Well, he's going to laugh because he's been telling me this forever, but prioritising protein.
Yes. Thank you, Karen. Amazing. Let's go. What, 3 more? Yes, Vanessa.
Just really enjoyed hearing the science behind like protein pacing, but also just those absorption times and all that. That was a real like aha moment for me.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the most important meal of the day? The most one that we don't want to miss. You miss important things, except you never ever miss your post-workout. Post-workout meal, it's like a cardinal sin. Yeah.
Just that timing of that protein pacing was
yeah.
Heck yeah. And up the front.
First time here, I haven't tried anything. I've come here for education and information. Just everything I've heard today. because I need to get onto this for my health and live longer.
Yes.
I have health problems, being mouldy. My heart is one of them, and my lungs. So I just want to start something brand new, and I also think this is good for my family.
Yes.
So not just myself. So I won't be taking this home information, and definitely getting my daughter on board with this.
Awesome. All right, let's go up the back in the black.
Can I say something too?
Yeah.
Just when we talk in terms of cultures as well too, when you're looking at the Maori culture, we know this and understand that diabetes is very high in Māori culture. But what area, whether it's health, sport or whatnot, when Māoris get hold of it and do it as well as they possibly can, do they not dominate it? Do you know what I mean? So for me, working in with different cultures is always quite inspiring, but particularly when because I lived here for a while and I saw the turnaround, what you can do. Just know that yes, there's a genetic component, but when you put the right tools in place, how you can turn that round and make something quite great of it. I think it's a really important thing to focus on that as well. It's a real thing, absolutely, understand it, but you can absolutely reverse a lot of that. That's important to know. Okay. Good. Sorry.
Awesome.
Sorry.
I'm new here too today. It's my day one, but one thing that I got was momentum is key, and that supplement is it's a complement.
Yes.
So for me, coming in intentional about what my goals are, and one is resetting and detoxing my body, because I have been training for years, but I haven't actually taken care of the insides of my body, if that makes sense. So really just, I will take a lot from what you said, because it's all new to me. I've never actually looked at the back of protein powders. I've never had a look at the ingredients. I've kind of followed what everyone else was doing, but this year has really helped me to understand what it will benefit inside my body, and carry on.
When you do buy protein powders or products from a store, they don't usually follow you up, in the week and say, how'd that go? So understand a lot of that support and that direction is really what makes it possible for people to get great results too, guys.
Lisa?
All the best with that.
I've learned a lot today. It's been nice to listen to it all. But I love your saying about the challenge.
Challenge.
Yeah. Doesn't challenge you, doesn't change you.
Yes.
Let that be like your
Love
constant
that
mantra in your mind. It doesn't change you.
And then I think Matt, you had it.
I've just really enjoyed hearing you speak. Amazing energy and information, knowledge. Probably my takeaway for the day is with regards to the sleep. I think that could really help my clients that struggle to sleep as well. In regards to the cortisol, the circadian rhythm, which I've got some understanding of, but I'll definitely be researching that further. So.
And one of the things that changed my whole perspective was sleep routine. Having a certain routine that you put in place. Again, talk habits. When you do your sleep routine well and you do it consistently, you'll start yawning at the very beginning of it. So I got into the habit of sleeping, for instance, doing a power nap during the day, take my shoes off, not my socks, take my shoes off and start yawning. That was my trigger. So the more you can do something like that with your sleep, that's why people say to reduce the blue light, turn off the TV, these sorts of things. As you start to do that, you train your body to get ready to go to bed. And that's even the difference for me being in Queensland versus Victoria. In Australia, Victoria is like Europeans, everything's open, and you go to the shops at 12 o'clock at night, everything's open. Queensland, it shuts down. I used to think that was really boring, and now I'm like, that's good. Because I'm now slowing myself down and getting everything before the end of the day. So yeah,
Well, I
try
think
to play with that.
the siesta might be something worth looking at.
Oh, it's a gift. It's
And
a treat.
another thing
It's
on
awesome.
the sleep. So we've got so many products that we haven't even touched on today, but there is one called the Adaptation Elixir, and that product, if I was going to say, is probably the most revolutionary product for sleep. Like Shane, my partner, that's Adaptation Elixir. He's always struggled with sleep his whole life. Had that before bed, boom. Like if there's one thing that is really revolutionary for sleep, hundreds of my customers tell me, oh my gosh, that Adaptation Elixir. So that's we've got so many products here that we haven't even touched on. I'm going to come to you. We've got, an all-natural pre-workout. We've got the electrolytes which you guys have tried. We've got Tribiotic for your gut health. Like, we haven't even touched on any of them. So after today, I'm hoping that you take away that these are science-backed products. It's not just us being like, this is better than that. Like, it legitimately is proven, not just by the science, but the results and the sustainability, long-term results. And everything is natural in these products. And I just wanted to add one thing about the shakes. Like, absolutely, like lots of people can eat clean, but the reality is, even if you're eating clean, eating all these fruits and vegetables, you cannot get the nutrients that's in one smoothie.